I would like to now turn to our panel discussion on community colleges, opening doors to STEM talent everywhere. I'm grateful to Geri Richmond, chair of the board's External Engagement Committee, for planning this session, and also to NSB Vice Chair Victor McCrary. One of the first projects that Vic led when he joined the board led to our 2019 study on the skilled technical workforce. In the course of that study, Vic drew our attention to the multifaceted roles of community colleges. I'm very much looking forward to today's panel that will highlight the essential roles of community colleges as pathways into the STEM-capable workforce, as gateways to further study of science and engineering, as environments that support the reskilling and upskilling of workers, and as contributors to the vitality of local science and engineering industries. So I believe Geri is not yet able to join us, so I'd like to turn this over to Vic. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ellen, very much. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel on community colleges, opening doors to STEM talent everywhere. Before I start, I'd like to ask board members and any others in attendance to please turn off your cameras and mute your microphones during the presentation. Over the past 10 years, we put together a series of panels anchored on one of the tenets of the board's Vision 2030, talent development around the missing millions. Those panels, which encompassed Black and STEM, the effects of COVID-19 on women in STEM and roadblocks to graduate STEM education, and a panel on the successes of minority serving institutions, highlighted underrepresented groups in STEM and actions needed to address the missing millions in the US science and engineering enterprise. Our panelists share data and insights to engage all of us to think creatively about ensuring that STEM education and the STEM workforce are equitable, accessible, and inclusive across racial, ethnic, and gender identities. We've come to learn and expect much from these panels, and I want to thank all my colleagues on the board, especially Geri Richmond for her leadership on the board, as well as I want to congratulate and thank all of our team members in the board office, and most of all, Director Ponchanathan and his team at NSF for making all of these working possible. As you know, I like to say teamwork has led to dream work, and it really has been a dream starting to come true here and unfold. Today, we launch a new panel series around the Vision 2030's goal of expanding the geography of innovation around the United States. To begin this story arc, we are focusing today on community colleges, the bedrock of educational accessibility and into STEM for millions of Americans. As we will hear, community colleges reach students from across the socioeconomic landscape of different backgrounds in every state. Community colleges provide STEM training and STEM associate degrees and help students transition to four-year colleges and universities. They are science and engineering hubs by forming local partnerships and bringing innovation across our communities. So let me introduce our panelists for today. Dr. Thomas Brock is our first speaker. Dr. Brock is the director of the Community College Research Center and previously served as the commissioner of the National Center for Educational Research, where he focused on programming and evaluation processes to improve educational outcomes for all students. Dr. Brock will highlight data on the critical role that community colleges play in creating STEM pathways. Our second speaker is Ms. Krissy DeAlejandro, who is the executive director at tnAchieves, a nonprofit to increase educational opportunities for Tennessee students through scholarships and individualized mentoring. Ms. DeAlejandro, who recently participated in the board's roundtable with key leaders in Tennessee about developing STEM talent, will speak about lessons learned from the tnAchieves program, particularly around recruitment and the retention of first-generation students. Our third speaker is Dr. Damaris Lewinsky, who is a tenured faculty member at Bellevue College in Washington State and principal investigator of the NSF-ATE, that's Advanced Technological Education Program, Working Partners Project and workshops. Dr. Slowinski facilitates workshops and designs and implements professional development curricula. She will speak about the needs of community college STEM faculty to connect with technology and industrial companies. Our final speaker is Revelyn Prey, who will teach us how community college prepared her for a STEM career at a biotech company, Natera. Ms. Prey is a graduate of Del Mar Community College in Corpus Christi, Texas, where she received 3 prestigious internships and 1 NSF's Community College Innovation Challenge. She went on to receive her Bachelor's of Science from Texas A&M University and is now a research associate at Natera. After the presentations, we will invite the board members to turn their cameras back on to start the Q&A of this important topic. So to kick it off, I will now turn to Tom to start his presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor. And I think the slides are coming up. Let me just say it is a pleasure to be here. And also, I think community colleges are very much the logical place to turn to try to increase and improve STEM talent and build a pipeline for STEM talent in the United States. They're located in every state of the country and every region. They enroll about 6 million students each year, which represents about 35% of all undergraduates in the United States. And they are open access institutions, as you noted, Victor, and relatively affordable, at least as compared to most four-year colleges and universities. Hence, if you go to the next slide, what you can see is that they serve a highly diverse student population, beginning with race and ethnicity. They largely represent the US population as a whole. Community colleges have become increasingly important in enrolling Hispanic students, largely because of their size and presence in the Southwestern US. You can see on each of these bars, community colleges represented by the red and four-year colleges and universities represented by blue for comparison. Another important factor is the income levels of students served. And you noted this as well, Victor, in your comments. Community colleges do provide an open door, particularly for low-income students. What you see on the slide here represents households below 200% of poverty in which there is a community college student. So very important in reaching low-income Americans. Not shown on this slide, but also important, community colleges serve a diverse range of ages. They enroll many students under 18, largely through dual enrollment programs, students who are taking college courses while still in high school. And they serve a number of students who are age 25 and over, these often representing older students who have been in the workforce and are returning for reskilling or upskilling. So if you will turn to the next slide, there really are 2 important roles that community colleges provide in STEM. The first is providing training for what we often call middle skill jobs. These are jobs that require more than a high school diploma, but not necessarily a bachelor's degree. In particular, community colleges offer the associate's degree, which is generally thought of as a 2-year degree, and they offer shorter term certificates, which usually are very career focused. On the slide, you'll see 3 fields within STEM that are particularly important and popular on most community college campuses. And we know from research, mainly by the Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce, that associate degrees in these fields do lead to good paying jobs. An associate's degree in engineering fields, for example, will have median earnings between $50,000 and $60,000 per year. An associate's degree in nursing will have median earnings between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. So these are family sustaining jobs. They're also jobs that are very important for communities. The second critical function that community colleges play is this transfer function, that is preparing students for transfer to a 4-year college or university to later earn the bachelor's degree. And sometimes we see this occurring as students will major at the associate's level in a field like biology or computer science. Far more typically, though, what we see among transfer students is that they will choose general education or a liberal arts major without a particular specified goal, try to get their general ed requirements completed, and then use that as a springboard to the 4-year institution. So if you'll turn to the last slide, this brings me to both some challenges and some opportunities for community colleges with regard to STEM education. We know from a wide variety of research that the best opportunities for students in community college come to those who actually earn degrees, who earn certificates or earn the associate's degree, or who then go on and earn the bachelor's degree. This is what the labor market tends to reward. However, we also know from data collected by the National Student Clearinghouse that the majority of degree-seeking students who begin at a community college will not actually attain that goal. Only about 40% of entering community college students will earn a credential from any institution within a 6-year time frame. And only 13% of entering community college students who intend to earn a degree, to earn a bachelor's degree, will achieve that goal within a 6-year time frame. So in short, there is a lot of room for improvement. A lot of the work that we've been doing at the Community College Research Center is focused on how community colleges can provide more structure and coherence to the community college experience in order to lead to better outcomes. Much of our work is under the umbrella of guided pathways, which is a particular framework, but we have many other interventions and strategies we've looked at as well. 3 things I just want to highlight very quickly. We have learned that it is really critical for students to identify a program and a career goal at the start of their community college experience. So in other words, this default to gen ed or liberal arts really is not a good strategy. It's not a good completion strategy for most students. They tend to lack direction, and students we find often do not take the right courses or in the right sequence, either to earn a community college degree or a 4-year college degree in the most efficient manner. A second thing we have learned is that consistent advising and support is important for community college students throughout their experience. That is, you can't simply rely on a good orientation program or a one-on-one meeting at the start of college. This really needs to be an ongoing activity every semester to help students choose the right courses and also to address the personal, academic, and financial barriers that may come up, particularly for low-income students while attending college. And then thirdly, we've taken a deep dive looking at patterns for students who intend to major in STEM fields. And perhaps not surprisingly, what we have found is that it is really critical for these students to complete a foundation calculus course, such as trigonometry, and at least one college-level science course during their community college experience. And this does not sound remarkable, but again, many students who end up in the gen ed category or in the liberal arts field end up not taking these critical courses. And this goes against a little bit some of the trend right now to provide more math options in particular that sometimes lead students away from the pre-calculus track. Good for some students, but very bad for students who are STEM intending. The last thing we have found is that students really need to see themselves in these careers and in these programs at community colleges. And far too often underrepresented students simply do not see people like them in the classroom or in the fields. And community colleges need to do much more to show students what's possible for them, where these careers go, what they might be able to achieve longer term. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And now I'd like to turn this over to my colleague, Geri Richmond.
Great, thanks everybody, and thanks for starting this, Vic, and I'm so delighted to be able to be here. Thank you, Tom. Next we have Krissy DeAlejandro. Krissy, would you please start your presentation now? It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Geri. While Tom provided critical data, my role is to demonstrate a proven model of increasing community college enrollment, retention, and completion, leveraging scholarship dollars, student-focused programs, and personalized communication. My name is Krissy DeAlejandro, the Executive Director of tnAchieves, the Model 4 and now nonprofit partner for the first statewide college promise program, Tennessee Promise. As a note, Tennessee Promise provides full tuition scholarships to community and technical colleges across Tennessee. We launched tnAchieves to change a culture of low expectations. Our data continued to demonstrate that we needed to level the higher education playing field. We believe every student, regardless of zip code, background, academic preparedness, and race, should have the opportunity to earn a college degree. Next slide. After 13 years, 89% of high school seniors apply for our program and receive tnAchieves supports regardless of their college plans. This translates into 60,000 high school seniors served annually. tnAchieves students also comprise 78% of first-time full-time freshmen at Tennessee's community colleges and 86% of its graduates. 56% are considered economically disadvantaged as measured by federal Pell eligibility, and 40% identify as the first person in their families to attend college. Also of particular interest to this board, 51% of students major in health science or STEM-related fields. The total scholarship cost annually is $32 million, with our nonprofit raising $2.5 additional million to operate programs. Next slide. After the launch of our program, Tennessee began and continues to lead the country in FAFSA, or federal aid completion. Once a significant barrier for students, coordination and targeted student interventions virtually eliminated this hurdle in Tennessee. To date, our students have given back 3 million hours of community service, a program requirement. My personal favorite is the job shadowing component, a high impact practice just highlighted by Tom. A hallmark of our program is our volunteer mentoring. Every high school senior is paired with a tnAchieves recruited and trained volunteer mentor from a plethora of backgrounds. It is intentional that 35% of our mentors come from business and industry. As an added bonus, we now have nearly 72,000 champions of our students and our work. Personalized targeted communication is crucial to tnAchieves work. My team of 27 believe every student deserves to be seen, and we work to meet them exactly where they are, from high school senior year through college to career. Next slide. With our statewide launch, we vowed to dramatically increase Tennessee's college-going retention and completion rates. The model is working, with a 4.6% increase in our state's college-going rate and over 108,000 students enrolling in the program since inception. Our first-year retention rate, shown here in green, is much higher for those participating in our program and grows from 67 to 74% when you move from community colleges to all eligible institutions. This includes our state's technical colleges that boast completion rates in the mid-80s. Most importantly, we've experienced significant increases in our college completion rates. When we began the tnAchieves journey, the 6-year grad rate was 26%. It has now grown to 34% statewide, with our students graduating at a 51% rate, as seen in green. It's important to note that 25% of our students who begin at a community college transfer to a 4-year institution. I could continue by sharing with you how we've changed the landscape for students in Tennessee, but at this point, we'll simply say it involves a comprehensive suite of equity-minded, targeted programs. Please feel free to ask any questions, and thank you for the opportunity to share our work.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. It's really great to see all of your successes, and you've highlighted them so well. So with that, then I'd like to turn it over to Mary Slowinski. Can we have Mary online now? Hey, Mary.
Hello, Geri. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to present to this esteemed assembly. My name is Mary Slowinski, Principal Investigator for the Working Partners Project and Workshops, funded through the NSF Advanced Technological Education Program, better known as ATE. The data and observations I'll share with you today are based mostly on research done with ATE grantees. The ATE program, under the remarkable leadership of Dr. Celeste Carter, supports STEM-based technician training in emerging technologies and currently funds 300 plus projects and centers, 78% of which are based out of a community or technical college. These projects span a wide range of industry sectors, from cybersecurity to biomanufacturing to robotics and more. What's common amongst these grantees is a focus on developing capacity for technician training that is responsive to regional and national skilled workforce needs. Next, please. This slide demonstrates the types and frequencies of activities ATPIs use to collaborate with employers. As you can see, 83% partner with industry to simply keep abreast of workforce needs, and more than 70% solicit advice and curricular input to maintain program relevancy and currency and to respond effectively to industry shifts and disruptions. Supports for instruction, collaborations that support student workplace-based learning, and support instructors with mastering new technologies are also well utilized. There's a lot of good work to report when looking at how community and technical colleges partner with industry, especially as of late. Just last week, for example, MIT's Open Learning Project sponsored a 2-day virtual summit on bridging the education workforce gap focused specifically on community colleges. Many stories of innovative and successful efforts on strong industry education partnerships made possible. So again, this is but one illustration of the type of activities being leveraged to promote strong industry partnerships. Next, please. It's important to recognize, however, though, that while workforce educators are doing this work and will likely need to do more of this work to bridge the skilled technician gap, they're often building and maintaining partnerships on top of teaching, advising, program management, and other normal faculty duties. Consider also, as noted by Dr. Brock, that the community college mission includes serving diverse populations along all demographics, including student college preparedness. Meeting each student where they are and ensuring they have the supports they need can often require considerable faculty time and energy. Inevitably, for most of these educators, the work of managing industry partnerships has to be done in addition to a whole host of other duties. If we wish to increase the role these educators play in growing the skilled technical workforce, this is not sustainable. Then there's this larger issue. Next, please. The fact that the majority of faculty in the community and technical college system are part-timers. These contingent workers often do not know if they will be teaching beyond the current term. Their employment is dependent on program enrollments. They're almost always paid less than their full-time peers, and they often make ends meet by working for multiple institutions. This is clearly a larger systemic issue, but it is worth noting that this ultimately drains programs of the human resources needed for the education part of these partnerships. Even the most dedicated adjunct faculty member may not have the time to participate with industry partners, much less provide co-leadership for such activities. And then there's this rather surprising fact. Next, please. Our research found amongst ATPIs and the institutions that support them, and remember, these are very much skilled technician workforce programs at colleges with the requisite infrastructure to successfully procure NSF funding, that almost no formal educator professional development regarding industry partnerships was occurring. In fact, our data found that 78% of ATPIs received no training at all in regards to forming or maintaining industry partnerships. Again, if the community and technical college system is to continue to be central to workforce education and be expected to expand upon that work, these type of issues will need to be addressed. Fortunately, there are many great minds bent to finding solutions to these and related issues. So in the brief time that remains, I would like to quickly describe some examples of supports that have been put in place by the ATE community in particular. Next slide, please. For one, our Working Partners Research Grant identified partnership models across ATE and disseminated successful practices for each of those. Professional development opportunities such as the Working Partners workshops and the Built Academy have also begun. But as the AT community as a whole, more than anything else, that exemplifies technological educator support. Robust formal supports, for example, the ATE Central Information Hub and Archive, 2 community-led conferences, the MentorLinks peer mentoring program, along with the AACC, and others do exist. And they are certainly key to the community's successes. But this is also a generous group that thrives on peer-to-peer sharing and readily adopts and adapts innovations from one another. Perhaps this is due to the sheer volume and importance of the work to be done, but I again would be remiss if I didn't call out the incredible leadership and vision that Dr. Celeste Carter sets in setting the tone to make that possible. In closing, I would encourage this body as it endeavors to realize the skilled technical workforce goals that it has put forth to include in its planning the requisition and allocation of resources that will support our community and technical college colleagues as they too endeavor to realize these goals. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mary, very much. It really gave a good perspective of the landscape of faculty at community colleges and your your pie chart really accentuated that. So thank you for that. Okay, so now I'd like to turn it over to Raybali to tell more about her experience. So can you come on? Oh, thank you. Great. It's floor is yours, or the screen is yours, whatever.
Hi, thank you for having me here. My name is Geraldine, as I was introduced earlier. I'm a mother of two, and I am a research associate at Natera, which is a biotech-based medical diagnostics company. I have a bachelor's of science in molecular biology, and I'm a co-author on 2 research publications. I have concrete confidence in the fact that none of this would be possible without my community college experience. And I'm here today to share my story with you. At about 15, I was homeless and transient. I worked full-time while finishing up high school, and I was moving around constantly. I knew at that time that I wanted stability in my life, and I wanted to do something that I would be proud of. But there are so many barriers to getting a higher education, the biggest of them being cost and time. Figuring out what I wanted to do and what I could do wasn't easy. Due to my background, I was a very average student throughout high school, middle school, elementary. I spent most of my time just trying to survive. I started at community college, which was an affordable option. It was just 2 years long, and it was a pragmatic stepping stone toward my ambitions of having a stable career. That's where I took my first biology course. And they had an integrated research-based curriculum that encouraged students to design their own experiments and conduct their own real research. This hands-on research that I did captivated me, and it captivated many students. We spent a lot of our time, our free time, and weekends working in lab, nurturing our research projects alongside one another. I quickly changed my major to biotechnology, and I was given more hands-on skills that I was able to apply to internships. I interned at the USDA and Berkeley National Labs and Texas A&M University, where I walked in being able to conduct experiments independently on my own in lab without anyone kind of watching me the entire time. I used the work that I produced there, and I was able to present that across the country. And it catapulted me to national recognition on different platforms for those projects. I was presenting and competing in STEM conferences alongside university level research students and winning awards as a community college student. For the first time in my life, I felt I excelled. I felt that I was good at what I did, and I was passionate about doing as much as I could, as well as I could. It was in those community college labs and in the conferences that I attended that I had first learned that you could gain help in financial help in pursuing your PhD. That's not something I knew before. That's not something most non-traditional students have access to information-wise. So I realized that I needed then to continue my education at university. With my community college degree in hand and the experience I gained at community college, I felt a huge sense of confidence in my ability to excel transferring to university. I did transfer to university. My experience was a little bit different though. The university is a lot like a mechanized production line, and there's hierarchies and processes. Even with amazing professors, the level of intimacy of the classroom was significantly reduced. The sheer volume of students reduced accessibility that I was used to in community college. The labs were also extremely simplified pre-assembled kits. They weren't very thought-provoking. So I feel like the experience I gained from community college gave me the competitive edge I needed to stand among others who came from generationally well-supported backgrounds that encouraged their academic excellence throughout their life. With my experience, I was able to get into a paid undergraduate research programs while finishing up my bachelor's. These paid programs helped me pay my bills, while I could also perform research to expand my professional skill set and my experience. I graduated in May 2020, in the height of the pandemic, when everything was shut down. And by then, I had co-authored 2 publications as an undergrad. 4 months later, I was given an offer of employment by Natera as a salaried research associate. I would later find out that there were about 30 applicants for the job. I still have copious ambitions toward a graduate degree, as well as helping in any way I can promote these programs. Many community college students have a story of adversity that led them to start there. And I believe that adversity breeds creativity, which is a resource that should not be undermined. I am not a traditional student, but my story is not unique. There are many across the country who tread similar waters, and a lot of them I call dear friends. I hope my story is further proof that inspires expansion and increasing accessibility to these truly innovative programs and initiatives to those many others. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Geraldine. You are an inspiration to all of us, as well as the other students beyond you. But let me now thank all of our exceptional panelists for sharing their data, experiences, and recommendations. For those interested in more information, we will have a list of resources on the NSB website. So I would also now turn it over to ask board members to please turn your videos back on again. And please raise your virtual hands when you have a question, and I'll take the host prerogative and start that off. Chrissy, to put you on the hot seat for now, you have great metrics and demonstrable progress, for instance, on college completion. How important has this been to building financial support and partner buy-in? Was there any reluctance at all before to do this when you started?
Yes, Geri, I wish I could share that everyone was on board initially with the idea of creating a scholarship that provided access to community and technical colleges for every student. But in fact, it was quite a coalition that we needed to build. And I will tell you, the silver bullet for us in Tennessee was around workforce development. We could share stories of how students thrived under a proactive coaching model, or how we saw results skyrocket with our volunteer mentoring program in terms of increasing college access. But truly, when we started talking about the return on investment for our state for bringing a new student to the pipeline, that is when we really saw momentum here. I will say that 35% of business and industry around mentorship has been incredibly important to our efforts. So our top business leaders are leaning in to our state government leaders to say, not only do we need this for equity purposes, but we also need this in order to fill critical jobs. And so really, we coalesced behind what we call the Drive to 55, or 55% post-secondary attainment by 2025. And that became our North Star, which led to the success we're having with Tennessee Promise.
Great, thanks, Chrissy. I'm going to turn it over to Vic now with his question.
Thank you, Geri. This question is for you, Dr. Slowinski. I appreciate your presentation and your shout out for ATE and what they have done. I represent an institution that's probably one of the most unique in the country, in that we are a community college, workforce development, ABET accredited 4-year engineering program, graduate program, and law school, and we're the nation's capital's only public HBCU. The reason I put that out there is because I think we have some advantages in that kind of structure that's unique. But we just got off a call earlier today that people were wondering, what can we do to unlock the research potential in community colleges and organize them in a way as the 4-year institutions have? The reason we're bringing this up is because I think ATE has been a great program, but would you have any recommendations on how we can do that? Because right now, still people view community colleges from a workforce development lens. And in some cases, that's a very important lens. But as we've seen from the ATE program, community colleges and workforce development, lifelong learning programs are working with R1s and R2s to do research. How do we get that research story out more? And by the way, the fact that ATE has just doubled its budget, what kind of things would you give for Dr. Carter? I want to give her a shout out for her leadership to kind of bring that more, that research piece and bringing out those innovators from across the land who are right now in our community colleges?
Well, thanks a lot for taking my answer away from me, because I was going to say, well, we've got more money going towards it, and we have, hopefully that will bring some more folks to the table. You know, it's funny because as I mentioned, my targeted research grant, and that's what they used to call them, and they're expanding the name of it. And I know naming is not always everything, but I think that's part of what's going on. We were such a part of such a small group. If you look at the AT funding, there's not a whole lot of targeted research going on, even in that circumstance where there is funds available and there is support for it. So I think partially it's visibility. I think that a lot of times, for myself at least, and the colleagues that I know in the community and college, community and technical college system, you know, it's kind of like there's so much work to be done that the concept of advancing research is not always forefront in the institution's mind, much less the faculty's, much less, you know, trickling down to the folks. That said, I can't tell you how many ideas I personally have for targeted research and research that we could do in the community colleges. There's a tremendous amount of data being generated. And even more so as we move into things like guided pathways, and we move into, you know, there are these national things underway that I think would really benefit from true faculty scholarship around them. So I think part of it is getting the word out. I think maybe doing some more, you know, just reaching into those populations and, you know, kind of like expanding their awareness of the opportunities. And I also think, I hate to say it, maybe this is at the AACC level or some level above the faculty pay grade, where there's a little bit more of an embrace of research and scholarship for the faculty at the CTC, because that's not often a number one priority. That's kind of delivered down from the top. So that would be my best answer for you today.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Mary. So now I'm going to turn over to Aaron. And we've got some noise in the background.
Yeah, I think, Stephen, you need to mute your iPad. There you go. Hi, thanks for the panel. That was really great. I have a question for Chrissy from Tennessee. Our university in DC has a new joint program with Pima Community College in Tucson. We're a year old. And one thing I wanted to learn from you is how you navigate the needs of the students at the community college. All of our students have jobs as they attend community college. Nearly 100% of them working either full-time or part-time. How do you navigate that with your Tennessee program?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we have similar numbers in Tennessee. I will tell you that building personalized, targeted supports for those students really changed the game for us. So it's one thing to say college is free, but if you are working full time, if you have a child, a fill in the blank life challenge, oftentimes these students will step away very quickly from college because it's the easiest to walk away from. And so what we found is we built a robust coaching model that helps these students navigate non-academic challenges. And it's not reactive. We're not waiting on students to come to us. We are proactively reaching out to these students on a monthly basis to ensure that they are being served. We serve external to the community colleges, so the community colleges have a robust set of resources that we help navigate the students to, we hop on calls with, we talk to professors with. And so what we found is that for many of our students, they do need additional scaffolding to find success. And much of what we hear from students, as your comment sort of brings to mind, is time management. How do you manage all of these things? And so that is what the coach is there to do. And I will say our coaches are near peers. So there's a lot of relatability between coach and student, and they've just been through it. And so they can walk the student through their experience. They know exactly where to meet the student because they know additional information about the student, which we have found to be incredibly successful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy. Tom, would you like to add in?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to weigh in on some of this issue around internships and work-based learning and other experiences we can provide for community college students. I was so inspired listening to Ravelyn and her experience at community college. And we know from a lot of work that having these kinds of opportunities really do help to improve student outcomes. They keep students engaged in the courses. They help them visualize that future. But we also know that far too few students have these opportunities. So one thing I would throw back to NSF, thinking about your programs and what you do, might there be more ways to encourage development of these kinds of programs at scale to provide more work-based learning? Also to think about opportunities for simulations, because you may not have the opportunity for every student to participate in a workplace, for example. But through simulations, we can do very analogous kinds of things that teach the same skills and encourage that engagement.
Great, thank you. And Maureen.
Hi, thank you everyone for brilliant and very provocative presentations full of information. I had a question for Tom Brock. You mentioned one of the features of improving retention and success rates for students at community colleges is quote, seeing themselves in the profession, in the role that they're trying to achieve. I'm really curious how it is that, I agree that this is a hugely important thing, but I'm curious how you identify appropriate mentors. The reason I'm asking is that I had a good friend who was a conservative Black Baptist woman biochemist, and she related to me that the most effective mentor she had in her educational history was a middle-aged white male who was also a Baptist, and who she could relate to as a person like her, in spite of the fact that, you know, on a large number of parameters, they were very dissimilar. So how is it we effectively identify, you know, appropriate mentors that can enable people to see themselves on the parameters they define as the most relevant in the profession?
I think that's really a good question. And honestly, our work shows that there are a lot of people who can play that mentoring role. So I agree with your point. It can be a faculty member. It could be a counselor or advisor on the community college staff, but it could also be somebody from the community. Many community colleges have done a very good job of creating committees to bring in people from local industries, other places, to provide some of the mentoring that you suggest. Just structurally, one thing we've found is that community colleges that are adopting the guided pathways model, oftentimes as part of the orientation process, will provide a general program for students on what it means to enter the STEM fields, for example. It's not limited to one thing, but a variety of options. And they will bring in a lot of different people to talk about different kinds of jobs, different roles. Some, if they don't have the people locally, they might produce a video or some mechanism like that to provide this kind of introduction. Because for many students coming out of high school in particular, they simply have not been exposed to these kinds of professions or even can imagine what the jobs might be.
Great, thank you. Okay, Suresh Babu.
Thank you, Geri. So this question is for Ms. Sprague. So she talked about moving from community colleges all the way to the graduate student. So can you tell us what are the challenges you faced and how did you overcome that? And what can we do to reduce those challenges so more non-traditional students pursue the path you've taken? That was so inspiring to hear that. So can you talk about that, please?
Well, I think the biggest one will always be the financing of it. I have had to be very resourceful in moving around my finances. I am lucky in the sense that I do feel like I have a knack for finding opportunities and resources, but I do think that, you know, there could be more help at the institution level to help students find federal funding that aren't directly associated with education, but also help in other ways, such as, you know, paying for water and food and things like that. So that way they can, you know, give their attention back to their education and not so much just trying to find out how they're going to pay their bills. And that was one of the biggest things that I think that I brought into the trying to find my path through. But going from community college to university, I think also one of the biggest challenges is kind of finding my place in the university. A lot of university students have almost, it almost seems like they already had everything figured out for them. They came from it, they already came from a background where their parents kind of knew what they were going to do and they could guide them. And we didn't really have someone that could guide us. And then there's, you know, people that I worked with at community college, they were parents, they were veterans, a factor that could help. And I don't know if it's available to everyone, but mental health was a huge factor. I had a 1-year-old when I was in my senior year at university.
Oh my
So
God.
that would be my.
Well, that's great. Again, we admire you. Suresh Garmello?
Yes, hi. Thank you. These are such wonderful panels. Thanks, Geri and Vic, for pulling these together and the speakers. I asked this with much respect. I'm trying to understand, and there was some confusion in my mind, at least from the part of the conversation. Should our aim be to build research capabilities at community colleges? Is competing for limited funds in a crowded field with a large number of competing universities for research the right model? What purpose? I'm assuming this changes from community college and state to state, but what are they trying to serve? Is it better accomplished and more efficiently accomplished by partnering with local universities or companies or national labs where there might be some nearby and have cleaner, better mentored, better supported pathways like the 2+2 pathways, et cetera? Just wanted to understand a bit more if growing research capabilities was a desired model.
Maybe
Well, I'll, Tom, do you want to go or you want me to go?
you go ahead and then I'll go.
Okay. I would say I wouldn't want to think of it as an either or. I think that you can have those partnerships and also see research that's coming out of the community and technical college. For ourselves, we did what we're calling a targeted research project, and it allowed us to identify 8 models that they're being used to partner with industry. We took those and we went back to the community and found out the best practices, and we were able to disseminate those. And that was very applied. And I don't know that it would have gained from having a partner in an institution, a 4-year institution. And I'll just say, if we were channeling resources, I continue, of course, because of what I'm here to talk about, I would continue to say that I think partnerships with industry, we're talking about workplace-based learning, that requires industry. We're talking about, there's so many places where the CTC agenda, if you will, and the desire to fill this workforce gap, trying to get these skilled workers through shorter-term programs of study, intersect with the CTCs. And I think that is really critical because, like our research showed, there's just not a lot of training being done. Faculty are doing this on top of, it's almost like a labor of love, to keep their programs running. But it's really, to me, that's the greater, even higher need than the research issue. I think that helping those workforce programs become better aligned and have a solid communication channel with their local and regional industry is super critical for all of this to even occur. But that's my perspective. Tom, take it. You can go higher than me.
Not at all. I appreciated your comments, Mary. Let me just say, I don't think community colleges should compete with our research universities. I think there are different kinds of research that could be supported. So as I think about community colleges and their students, there is a tremendous opportunity to support more research really as a teaching and learning strategy. We know from so many studies, and we heard from Ravelin in her experience, that getting involved in a research study, something that is hands-on, something that may have practical applications to an organization or to a community project of some kind, can really make all the difference in helping students see, yes, this is what I want to be doing for my career. And again, to imagine some of those possibilities for themselves. The other thing I would say is that research, at least in some communities around the country, does offer a lot of direct employment opportunities. So for those students that are really very career oriented, who simply want to spend 2 years at a college and then move into the workforce, there are lots of opportunities in industry to support research, to work in labs, that kind of thing. So we can be thinking about research both as a teaching and learning strategy, as well as a career preparation strategy.
Can I just add one more thing as well? In the process of doing our research, we also found what we were calling a contract service organization model. It's not widely used, but it's a very effective way for community and technical colleges to meet their needs for supplying their labs, for building out their labs. Oftentimes, these are companies whose R&D is they've got what they say backlogged R&D that they assign to these community technical college students to do, or basic bench testing that maybe they don't have the capacity to do. So you're seeing employers take the students, work with the students in the labs the community colleges have, and then generating jobs from that, which I think is similar to what Evelyn was saying. But it's just really great practical experience that, on the other hand, also builds out the facilities for the community technical colleges. So that's just one other way to look at that.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Now I have Vic and then Punch.
Okay, this question is now directed to you, Tom. I like your answer on research because I do think it's very important, because even if you look in the history of our country, even before community colleges, many of the people, particularly who came to Bell Labs, were folks who started out with 2-year degrees and gave us a lot of innovations. But I also want to say, besides the organic from the bottoms up, from the top down, you're at CCRC and AACC. What is the conversation between them and AAU and APLU, which represents both the public and private 4-year institutions? Is there much conversation there? And is there something that we as a board, which is one thing we do very well, could facilitate those conversations that would be helpful in terms of improving the nation's overall research ecosystem?
I think NSF definitely could play a role there, simply a convening role to bring these organizations together. It's not to say that they don't talk already, they do, but I think generally, as far as I have seen, not a lot of conversation that is specific to STEM fields, for example. Maybe not a lot of conversation related to transfer pathways and how they might be improved. Let me also just say there are some states that are really taking a leadership on these issues. California comes to mind. A lot of rethinking around what they call the associate degree for transfer, trying to create better alignment between California's community college system, which is the nation's largest, and their Cal State and University of California systems. So I would think about including representatives from those institutions as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Punch.
Thank you so much, Geri. Geri, again, thanks to you first. A fantastic panel. I mean, you keep doing this. It's amazing. So thank you so much for that. And the panelists, you were just superb. So Tom, Chrissy, Mary, and Raylan. Raylan, I think you are really a role model. We're going to capture your video. I mean, this is so inspiring. And I just loved what you said. Your story is so inspiring and can help so many people to know that they too have the opportunity to do something amazing that you're trying to do here. So thank you so much for sharing that. And one of the things that I wanted to say is, having come from an institution where community college transfers, articulation was a very important element of how we can serve better in automated systems by which a particular course in a community college, wherever it was, that could be easily articulated to this particular institution that I came from. So those are things that are very, very important. And so thanks for your inputs today in terms of what NSF can do more and do better. And we are listening, and we'll see how we can take that as an opportunity to help do things better. Mary, I had a set of maybe comments, even a question. You talked about the industry partnership, and I cannot agree with you more, because many of them are what I would say experiential learners. And so to the extent that we are able to have experiential learning opportunities in-house in the community colleges, as well as in industry, and how can we scale that to happen very rapidly is very important, because when we talk about reaching the missing millions, geography of innovation, and industry everywhere, the only way we're going to be able to do that is not only vibrant universities, but community college systems that are also working together to make that happen. That's the only way it will happen. So given that industry partnerships are an exceedingly important component, have you thought about talking to the economic development organizations in your region? Because where I came from, they were a tremendous help in connecting to industry partners. That's one avenue that I was wondering if you have explored. The other avenue that I thought could be useful is, here is a university partnership where universities have industry connection through the industry liaison offices. Is it something that they can help also connect the community college folks to their industry partners? Something to think about. And I'm sure that at least public universities and other universities would be glad to do that. At least the university that I came from would be happy to do that. Without making it too long, I just wanted to sort of posit this comment and maybe a question to see how you react to that.
Thank you so much. It's interesting. The workshops that we're doing now with faculty are what we think of as a collaborative learning environment. So we're learning a lot from the different schools and what they are being successful doing. And interestingly, yes, the manufacturing, specifically in the manufacturing sector, there's very strong associations and regional workforce hubs that are being leveraged very actively and very well by the CTCs. And again, part of what we're doing is capturing all of that and then disseminating that out. Same thing with all of the, even on a small one-to-one or larger associations and with universities as well. So a lot of what we're doing is not telling people what to do. We're giving them the structure in which to think about creating action plans and actionable items for them to do for their goals and their particular group, but then also sharing what's working, because there's a lot of really good work being done out there, a lot of really good work. And we don't have the answers, but we can connect people who do. That's our hope.
Excellent, Mary. Thank you so much.
Stephen, I see your hand up.
Yes, ma'am. So great presentation. I was particularly focusing with Ms. Slowinski's comment about contract research. I think that is the mechanism to make a bit of a difference. I am in the biotech industry, and I'm going to take this idea that you shared out to try to create some pull from industry, while I encourage you to continue the push, because you create relationships that way. The biotech industry is always coming up with a new program and getting new government money. So I think your idea of contract research is the key to broaden the technology. I encourage you to push it on your end, and I will use the recording of this to push it on my end. Speaking of recording, Ms. Prey captured on video a comment which was, major universities are a production line. I'm going to enjoy mentioning that again and again to my colleagues who are presidents of some of the major institutions. And I think it's a challenge for us, particularly those in academia as well as in business, to do better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. Are there any other questions at all? Any other questions? Well, I think you guys bowled them all over. That's why. Okay, so I want to thank you for this very lively conversation. You know, this is such a great way to kick off this panel series. It's clear that the community college is part of our nation's vasculature, pumping educational resources into all parts of the United States and bringing access to higher education in STEM, technical training and partnerships in every community. It is also clear that more needs to be done to support students of underrepresented groups to access these pathways and to support faculty in these critical roles. Thanks again to our wonderful panelists for their thought-provoking presentations and work on this critical issue. And may I please have a moment just to thank Reba, Nadine, Alexandra, and Portia. They're the ones that have put this all together. The NSBO staff is really awesome. And I'll end by saying I did give a shout out to community colleges in my Senate hearing this morning.
Yay!
Okay, so with that, I will end and turn it over to Ellen.